The encounter asterisk, the night was quiet, but not normal quiet. It was the kind of silence that felt heavy, pressing against the skin like cold water. The ruined ship lay half buried in the desert sand, its sharp metal broken and twisted, glowing faint. Blue from strange alien lights. The air smelled of smoke and something sweet, almost rotten. Captain Ryan stood alone at the edge of the wreck. His breathing was loud inside his helmet. Every step he took made the ground crunch with broken glass and steel. He held his rifle close, his finger resting near the trigger, but his hands were shaking. He had been through battles before, but never something like this. The alien ship was not supposed to be here. Humanity had only seen small scouts before, never a massive warship like this one. It had crashed hours ago, falling from the sky like a burning star. Ryan's team had come to check, but now his team was gone. He was the only one left. Ryan walked deeper into the wreck, his flashlight beam cutting across the dark walls. The metal was strange, alive, almost pulsing faintly like it had veins. He tried not to look at it for too long. The silence was too loud, and his heart beat faster with every step. Then he heard it. A sound. Not metal. Not wind. Something heavier. Something breathing. He froze. The sound came again, from the shadows ahead. Slow, steady. A presence so strong that even the air seemed to bend around it. Ryan lifted his rifle, sweat dripping down his forehead. His flashlight shook as the beam caught a shape. At first, it looked like a wall. Then it moved. The monster stepped forward. It was huge, taller than any man, its body covered in dark armor like skin. Its eyes glowed like hot coals, burning through the dark. Its mouth was hidden behind jagged plates, but Ryan could hear its growl vibrating in his bones. Every instinct in his body screamed run, but he could not move. The monster looked at him, not at his weapon, not at his armor. It looked straight into his eyes. And then something impossible happened. The creature stopped. It tilted its head, its glowing eyes narrowing. For a long moment, it did not move closer. Then, with a slow, heavy step, it moved back. Ryan's breath caught in his throat. Why? Monsters didn't step back. They attacked. They killed. He was just a human, weak compared to this thing. Yet the creature's body tensed, almost like it was afraid. Afraid of him. Ryan whispered under his breath, "What the hell?" The monster growled low, but it didn't attack. Its claws dug into the floor, scratching deep lines in the alien metal. Then it turned its head, as if listening to something far away. Ryan's finger tightened on the trigger, but before he could act, the shadows behind the creature shifted. Someone, or something, was there. From the darkness, a figure stepped out. Small, thin, almost glowing. It was a girl. Her skin was silver, shining softly in the alien light. Strange blue marks glowed across her arms and neck like living tattoos. Her eyes were large, dark, and filled with fear. She looked not at Ryan, but at the monster. And she froze. Her lips trembled. She whispered in a voice so soft Ryan almost missed it. "Even it fears you." Ryan blinked, confused. His chest rose and fell as he tried to process her words. "What do you mean?" he asked, his voice rough. The girl did not answer. She only stared at him like he was something impossible, something dangerous. The monster gave a sharp guttural roar that echoed through the wreck. The ground shook under Ryan's boots. He almost fell, but the girl didn't move. Her eyes darted between the soldier and the beast, as if trapped between two nightmares. Ryan swallowed hard. His mind raced. Why did the monster step back? Why was the girl looking at him like that? The silence returned for a moment, heavy and suffocating. The monster's glowing eyes narrowed again. Then it made a deep sound, almost like a warning. And then the walls shook. A loud crack tore through the wreckage as the ground split. Dust rained down, and from far away, Ryan heard more roars. Not one, not two, many, The girl's eyes widened. In terror, she grabbed his arm with cold, trembling fingers. "More are coming," she whispered. Ryan turned his head toward the dark corridors behind him. Shadows moved there. Heavy footsteps echoed closer. The sound of claws scratching metal grew louder and louder. The first monster took another step. Back, as if giving space. It growled again, but its eyes stayed locked on Ryan. Ryan felt his blood run cold. Something bigger was happening. Something he did not understand, and for the first time in his life, Ryan realized he was not the predator. He was the threat. The girl's grip tightened. "Run," she said. Her voice was sharp now, desperate. "Run!" Ryan's body finally moved. He pulled her close and turned, sprinting into the darkness as the wreck behind them shook with the sound of monsters waking. But even as he ran, he could feel it, the monster's eyes still watching him, not hunting, not chasing, watching. As if waiting, the alien girl, the wreck was alive with echoes. Every step Ryan took bounced through the metal halls, mixing with the distant growls that followed him. His breath came hard, his body tense. The alien girl's hand clutched his arm, tightly as they ran. Her touch was cold, almost unnatural, but her grip was strong. Behind them, the first monster did not chase. Ryan could still feel its eyes on his back, like a shadow stretching across his skin. It had stepped back. It had let them go. But why? The question dug into his mind, heavy and sharp. The corridor twisted left, then down. Alien lights pulsed faintly from the walls, like veins carrying blood. The air grew colder, heavier, as if the ship itself was alive and watching. The girl pulled him sharply into a side passage. She was small, but she moved quickly, her bare feet silent on the metal floor. Ryan's boots made too much noise. He hated it. Every sound felt like a signal to the creatures that hunted them. Finally, after what felt like hours but could only be minutes, the girl slowed and pressed her palm against a broken wall panel. With a faint hum, a hidden door slid open. She pulled him inside, and the door sealed behind them. The room was small and dark. Only a single light flickered in the ceiling, glowing a weak green. Ryan dropped against the wall, his rifle still ready in his hands. His chest heaved, sweat running down his neck. The girl stood across from him, silent, her black eyes fixed on him with an intensity that made him shift uncomfortably. At last, Ryan broke the silence. "Who are you?" he demanded, his voice low, but sharp. The girl tilted her head, her silver skin catching the dim light. The glowing blue marks on her arms shimmered faintly. When she spoke, her voice was soft, almost like a whisper, but each word was clear. "I am Lyra." Ryan narrowed his eyes. "What are you doing here? Are you with them?" He jerked his chin toward the wall, where faint distant roars still echoed. Lyra's expression shifted. Fear. Pain. Her hands tightened into fists at her sides. "No," she said quickly. "They took me, my people. We were prisoners." Her words were broken, but Ryan understood enough. He lowered his rifle slightly, but not all the way. His instincts still screamed caution. She stepped closer, her eyes never leaving his. "You are human?" she asked, her voice trembling on the last word, as if it was something sacred. Ryan frowned. "Yes, why?" Her lips parted slightly. For a moment, she did not answer. Then she whispered, "That is why it feared you." Ryan felt a chill run down his spine. "What do you mean?" Lyra shook her head slowly, her silver hair falling across her face. "The monsters. They were made to fight, to kill. But when it looked into you, it saw something. Something it remembers." Ryan leaned forward, his voice sharp. "Remembers? You're telling me those things know. Humans?" Lyra closed her eyes for a moment, as if searching for the right words. "Long ago, before I was born, my people told stories. Stories of the war, the old war. The monsters fought your kind, and lost. Her eyes opened again, wide and unblinking. "That is why they fear you." Ryan felt the air leave his lungs. He shook his head. "That doesn't make sense. We've barely seen them until now. Skirmishes, scouts, not a war." Lyra stepped closer, her voice urgent. "You do not know your own history." "But they do, and when it looked at you, it remembered." The words dug into Ryan's mind, heavy and confusing. Could it be true? Could humanity have fought them before, long before they knew? Before he could ask more, the room shook violently. Dust rained down from the ceiling. The sound of claws against metal echoed outside, closer now. Lyra's eyes widened in panic. She grabbed his arm again. "We must move. If they find us here, we die." Ryan cursed under his breath but nodded. He followed as she pressed her hand against another panel, opening a narrow passage. The corridor was darker than the last, filled with wires and steam that hissed from broken vents. The sound of their footsteps echoed differently here, dull, muffled, like they were moving through the guts of a living beast. As they ran, Ryan studied her. She moved like she knew the ship well, but her body was fragile, thin. Her glowing marks pulsed brighter when she was afraid, almost like a heartbeat. She looked alien, but something in her eyes, something desperate, felt human. Finally, they reached another chamber. This one was larger, filled with strange glowing pods lining the walls. Ryan froze at the sight. The pods were tall, filled with liquid. Shapes floated inside them, humanoid shapes. Some were alien, some looked human. His stomach twisted. "What the hell is this?" Lyra's face darkened with sorrow. "Prisoners, experiments. They use us to make more." Ryan stepped closer to one pod. Inside, he saw a creature half alien, half something else. Its eyes were closed, but its body twitched faintly, like it was dreaming. He felt bile rise in his throat. This was worse than he imagined. Lyra's voice broke the silence. "They take the strongest, mix flesh, mix minds, build soldiers." She looked at him with fear. "They want to make something that cannot fear you." Ryan's blood ran cold. His fists clenched around his rifle. These monsters weren't just beasts. They were being made. Crafted, designed to overcome humanity. Then, a sound, a sharp crack. Ryan spun, raising his rifle. One of the pods hissed, steam spilling out. The glass cracked again, then shattered. Liquid poured onto the floor. And something stepped out. It was taller than Ryan. Its skin pale, its body twisted between human and alien. But its eyes were familiar. Cold, intelligent. It looked at him. It spoke. "Ryan." The sound of his name froze him in place. His heart stopped for a second, his mind racing. Lyra gasped. Her hand flew to her mouth. The creature smiled, a thin, broken smile that stretched across its warped face. "I know you." Ryan's rifle shook in his grip. He had no words, no explanation. The creature took one step closer. Its eyes locked on his. "You cannot escape me. Because I am you." The chamber shook again as distant roars grew louder, but Ryan could not move. His breath caught in his throat. The alien girl's voice was a whisper in the silence. "It knows you." And Ryan realized with horror. She was right. The chase. The hybrid's voice echoed in the chamber, deep and wrong, like two voices speaking at once. "I am you," it whispered again, its pale lips curling into something that might have been a smile. Ryan's finger twitched on the trigger of his rifle, but his hand trembled. His own name, spoken by that thing, cut deeper than any roar of the monsters outside. It knew him. Not just his name, something more. Something inside. Lyra stepped backward, her glowing marks flaring with fear. "It is not just a monster," she whispered. "It carries your memory, your shadow." The hybrid tilted its head, water dripping from its twisted body. Half of its chest looked human, with pale flesh and faint scars, but the rest was armored like the monsters outside, its claws sharp and shining. It raised one hand, almost in greeting. "Ryan," it said again, more calmly this time. "You survived when the others fell. That makes you valuable. They made me from you, a better you." Ryan swallowed hard, his voice harsh. "You're not me." The hybrid's eyes glowed faintly, unnatural and cruel. "Not yet." Then it moved. The creature lunged forward with inhuman speed. Ryan fired. The blast of his rifle lighting the chamber in flashes of white. The first shot struck its chest, tearing open flesh, but the hybrid didn't stop. "Run!" Lyra screamed, grabbing Ryan's arm and pulling him back. The glass pods around them shook with the impact of the shots, liquid sloshing inside. Some of the prisoners stirred, their eyes flickering open. The entire chamber began to hum, as if the ship itself had awakened. The hybrid swiped at Ryan with its claw, slicing through the wall where his head had been a second before. Sparks flew. Ryan's boots slipped on the wet floor as he turned, following Lyra toward the far corridor. The hybrid roared behind them, its voice blending with the monsters outside. The chase had begun. The corridors twisted like a maze. Pipes hissed steam, wires sparked overhead. Ryan's breaths came ragged, his boots heavy against the metal. Lyra moved fast, her glowing tattoos lighting the way like faint lanterns. She seemed to know the ship's every turn. Behind them, the sound of claws against metal echoed closer. Not just one set of claws, many. The monsters were awake now, and they were hunting. Ryan glanced back for a second and nearly froze. The hybrid was faster than the others. Its body moved like liquid, leaping across walls, smashing through broken doors. Every time Ryan thought they had gained space, it closed the distance again. "Where are we going?" Ryan shouted, his voice rough. Lyra didn't look back. "To the lower halls. There's a way out." Ryan cursed under his breath. He didn't believe her, not fully, but right now. Running was better than dying. They turned a corner and nearly collided with another monster. It stood tall, its glowing eyes burning, its claws spread wide. Ryan didn't think. He raised his rifle and fired point blank. The blast tore through the creature's head, throwing it backward into the wall. The hallway shook with the impact, but the sound carried. The roars grew louder. More footsteps pounded closer. The ship itself seemed to scream with the voices of its monsters. Lyra pulled him down another passage. "You are too loud," she cried. "Too loud is alive," Ryan growled back. They burst into a wider hall, this one lined with broken screens and shattered alien consoles. The floor was slick with strange black fluid, glowing faintly in the dark. Ryan's boots slipped, but Lyra's bare feet danced across it with ease. The sound of pursuit grew louder. The hybrid's voice echoed through the halls. "You cannot run from yourself, Ryan." The words crawled under his skin. He clenched his teeth, forcing his legs to move faster. "Left," Lyra shouted, pulling him through another doorway. They stumbled into a chamber filled with tall, spire-like machines. Each hummed softly, glowing blue. The air here felt heavy, almost electric. "What is this?" Ryan hissed. Lyra's face was pale. "Power cores. Old ones. If they break," she didn't finish. A crash shook the chamber as the hybrid burst through the doorway, metal shrieking under its claws. Its pale face twisted in a grin. "You can't hide." Ryan fired again, bullets sparking against the power cores. Blue light flared dangerously. "Stop!" Lyra screamed. "You will kill us all." Ryan ducked behind the machine as the hybrid charged, its claws slamming into the core. Sparks exploded, throwing the chamber into chaos. Lyra darted between machines, her glowing tattoos pulsing brighter as if warning her. Ryan's rifle clicked empty. He cursed, tossing it aside and pulling the combat knife from his belt. It felt pitiful in his hand compared to the monster charging at him. The hybrid leapt, claws wide. Ryan rolled to the side, slashing upward. The blade cut into its arm, black. Blood spraying across the floor. The hybrid roared, staggering, but then it laughed. "Good," it hissed. "Fight me. Show me why they fear you." Ryan's chest heaved. His arms shook with exhaustion. But he refused to fall. Lyra screamed his name. "Ryan, this way." He turned to see her holding open another hidden panel in the wall. Sparks lit the chamber as the power cores surged dangerously. Ryan ran. He dove through the passage as the hybrid's claw swiped at his back, slicing the air just inches away. The panel slammed shut behind him. Darkness swallowed them. They ran through the narrow passage, the sound of the hybrid smashing behind them. The walls shook with every impact. Ryan's lungs burned, his vision blurred, but he kept moving. Finally, they stumbled into a massive space. Ryan stopped, his eyes widening. It wasn't a hallway. It wasn't even a room. It was a hangar. Broken ships lay scattered across the floor. Alien machines dangled from the ceiling, half destroyed. The air smelled of smoke and fuel. Lyra's eyes darted around. "Here," she whispered. "We can hide." Ryan shook his head. "No, hiding won't work." The sound of claws grew closer. The hybrid's voice echoed again. "You belong to us." Ryan's jaw clenched. He lifted his knife. His body ached. But his eyes burned with fire. Lyra looked at him with shock. "You cannot fight it." Ryan's lips curled into a thin smile. "Watch me." The first monster burst into the hangar, claws tearing through the floor. Another followed, then another. Their glowing eyes lit the space like a storm of fire. And then the hybrid stepped through the shadows, its twisted body glowing faintly. It raised its claw toward Ryan. "End this chase," it said. Ryan's chest rose and fell. His knife gleamed under the alien lights. His eyes locked on the hybrids. The monsters circled. The hangar shook. And Ryan whispered, "Then come and take me." The hidden chamber. The hangar lights flickered, casting long shadows that moved like living things. Ryan stood in the center, knife in hand, his breath ragged, his body shaking with exhaustion. The monsters circled, their glowing eyes fixed on him. The hybrid stood at the front, silent, almost calm, as if the chase had been nothing more than a game. Lyra pressed close to Ryan, her small frame trembling. Her glowing tattoos pulsed brighter in the dark, as if they could not hide her fear. She whispered, her voice barely audible, "They won't kill you, not yet." Ryan didn't take his eyes off the creatures. "That's supposed to make me feel better?" The hybrid's smile widened. It stepped closer, its claws dragging along the floor, leaving burning scars in the metal. "You don't understand, Ryan. You're not prey. You're the template." Before Ryan could react, the hangar floor shook violently. Metal groaned. Somewhere deep in the wreck, something massive moved. The monsters froze, their heads snapping toward the sound. Lyra's grip tightened on Ryan's arm. "Now," she hissed. She darted toward the far wall, pulling him with her. The monsters roared, but they didn't strike. Instead, they stepped aside, as if letting him go. Ryan's mind screamed with confusion. Why weren't they tearing him apart? Why did they hesitate every time they met his eyes? The hybrid's voice followed him as he ran. "Go deeper, Ryan. You'll see. You'll see what you really are." The words clung to him like chains. The passage they entered was narrower than before, choked with wires and dripping pipes. The deeper they went, the colder the air became. Every breath Ryan took turned to mist. His skin prick led. At last, the passage opened into a massive chamber. Ryan stopped dead in his tracks. The room stretched far beyond his flashlight's beam. The walls were lined with enormous pods, hundreds, maybe thousands, stacked like tombs. Each pod glowed faintly, casting sickly green light. Inside them floated shapes. Some looked alien. Some looked almost human. Some were twisted mixes of both. Ryan's stomach turned. He felt bile rise in his throat. The air smelled like chemicals and rot. Lyra's voice trembled. "This is where they keep us, where they change us." She stepped forward slowly, her eyes scanning the pods. Her glowing tattoos flickered faster, as if reacting to the energy in the room. Ryan followed, his knife still in his hand. He forced himself to look at one of the pods. Inside floated a man or something that had once been a man. His face was human, but his body was covered in black scales. His hands were claws. His eyes twitched under closed lids, moving as if he were dreaming. Ryan staggered back. "God, they're turning people into them." Lyra nodded, her expression grim. "Yes, they take our bodies, our memories. They twist them. Some survive. Most do not." Her voice broke. She pressed her hand against a pod. Inside floated a silver-skinned girl, almost identical to her. Ryan realized with horror that this chamber wasn't just full of random captives. It was full of copies, replicas, failed attempts. Lyra whispered, her eyes glassy with tears. "My sisters." Ryan felt the weight of it pressing down on him. The monsters weren't just soldiers, they were built, crafted in these vats. And if the hybrid had his memories, his voice, then he turned sharply to Lyra. "How did it know my name? How did it know me?" Lyra's hand trembled against the pod. "Because they took you before." Ryan froze, his chest tightened. "What?" "Her." Eyes met his. "Not you. But others like you. Soldiers, humans. They keep the strongest, the bravest. They take their minds, their blood. Their spirit." She swallowed hard. "That is what makes them afraid. They cannot kill it. They cannot erase it." Ryan staggered back, the truth slamming into him. The hybrid wasn't just a random experiment. It was made from fragments of humans before him, from his kind. That's why it felt familiar. That's why it knew him. The chamber groaned suddenly, a deep rumble echoing through the walls. Ryan's flashlight flickered. One of the pods cracked, steam hissing into the air. Lyra gasped. "No." The pod shattered. Liquid spilled across the floor. Something stepped out. It was massive, larger than the hybrid. Its body was a grotesque fusion of human muscle and alien armor. Its face was twisted, half human, half monster, with a single glowing eye that burned red. Ryan raised his knife, but his hands shook. This thing was beyond anything he could fight. Lyra pulled at his arm. "We must move, now." Ryan's legs finally obeyed. He turned and ran, but the sound of the creature's roar shook the entire chamber. Pods rattled, glass cracking. Shapes stirred inside, awakening. As they sprinted down the central aisle, pods burst one by one. Deformed hybrids stumbled out, dripping with black liquid. Some had too many arms. Some had no faces. All of them turned their glowing eyes toward Ryan. And then they froze. Every single one of them stopped moving. Their claws twitched, their heads tilted. And just like the first monster, they stepped back. Ryan's heart slammed in his chest. He didn't understand. He didn't want to. But the look in their eyes wasn't hunger. It was fear. Lyra's voice broke the silence. "They see it. They see what you are." Ryan spun to her, shouting over the echoes of groaning metal. "What am I?" Her eyes glistened in the sickly green light. "The one thing they cannot break. The one thing they cannot copy." Her words sent a shiver down his spine. But there was no time to ask more. The massive hybrid roared again, charging down the aisle. Pods shattered in its wake. The ground shook with every step. Ryan grabbed Lyra's hand, pulling her toward the far end of the chamber. "Move." The exit was a narrow tunnel, almost hidden behind fallen debris. They squeezed through just as the hybrid slammed into the Wall behind them, metal tearing like paper. The tunnel was dark, filled with dripping pipes and the stench of rot. Their footsteps echoed as they ran, the roars fading but never gone. Ryan's chest heaved. His knife was slick with sweat. His mind swirled with questions he couldn't answer. Behind him, in the chamber of pods, the creatures whispered. A low, collective sound that crawled along the walls, and Ryan knew. They weren't done. They stopped only when the tunnel widened into another room. This one was different, round, with smooth black walls that pulsed faintly. In the center stood a console, glowing with alien symbols. Lyra stepped forward, her hand hovering over the console. This is the core. If we can reach it, we can destroy the ship. Ryan's jaw tightened. Destroy it, with us inside? She turned to him, her dark eyes fierce. Better we die free than live as them. Ryan's chest rose and fell. His knife trembled in his grip. The images of the pods burned in his mind, hundreds of twisted prisoners, waiting to be turned into monsters. He looked at Lyra. Her silver skin glowed faintly in the dark, her tattoos pulsing like veins of fire. She was fragile, alien, strange, but she was fighting. And he realized, so was he. Ryan took a step forward, placing his hand on the console beside hers. The alien symbols shifted, glowing brighter. The chamber shook. And then from the tunnel behind them, a voice. The hybrid. You think you can destroy this place? You think you can escape? Ryan turned, his eyes burning with fire. For the first time, he didn't feel like prey. He felt like the nightmare. The truth revealed. The chamber shook as the hybrid's voice crawled out of the tunnel behind them. It wasn't a normal voice. It was layered, like many voices speaking at once, human and alien, male and female, young and old. The sound made Ryan's skin crawl, his heart hammering in his chest. You cannot destroy this place, it said. Because this place is not just metal. It is memory. It is truth. And truth cannot be erased. Lyra's hand froze above the console. The glowing alien symbols pulsed brighter, reflecting in her wide eyes. She whispered, "It followed us." Ryan raised his knife, his arm aching, his breath ragged. He didn't move closer to the console, not yet. He kept his eyes locked on the tunnel, waiting. And then the hybrid stepped out. It filled the entrance. Like a shadow, its body hunched, claws dragging across the walls. Its pale flesh glistened with black liquid, its human features twisting into something almost recognizable. Its eyes glowed faintly red, but there was intelligence in them, too. Much intelligence. Ryan felt his grip tighten on the knife. He wanted to charge, to strike, but his body refused. Something deeper held him still. The hybrid tilted its head, studying him. And then it spoke again, more softly. "Do you know why they fear you, Ryan?" Ryan's jaw clenched. He said nothing. Hybrid took a slow step forward, its claws clicking against the floor. "Because you are the one thing they cannot change. The one thing they cannot bend. You are defiance." Ryan spat onto the floor. "I'm just a man with a knife. You want to tell stories? Find someone else." The hybrid smiled. A cruel, broken smile. "No, you are more. Do you think this is the first time your kind has stood here? Do you think you are the first human to fight?" Ryan's chest rose and fell. His mind screamed liar, but something deep inside him whispered otherwise. The hybrid's voice grew sharper. "Long before your people walked freely on your earth, there was war. Humans rose against the dark, against us. And we remembered, oh yes, we remembered the fire in your blood. The way you fought, even when broken, even when lost. You refused to fall. And we," its claws scraped against its own chest with a screech of metal and bone, "we learned fear." The word echoed through the chamber like thunder. Lyra shivered, her glowing tattoos flickering faster. "I told you," she whispered to Ryan. "It is true. There was a war, long ago. The monsters fought you, and lost." Ryan shook his head slowly. His voice cracked. That's impossible. We never knew. No record, no history, nothing. The hybrid's eyes narrowed. Of course you never knew. They buried it. They erased it. They wanted you weak, ignorant, unprepared. But we never forgot. Every battle, every scream, every human who stood and would not fall, it lives inside us still. And when we look into your eyes, Ryan, we see the shadow of that war. The echo of defiance, the memory of defeat. Ryan staggered back, his knife trembling in his grip. He felt like the ground was slipping away from him. His mind screamed denial, but his heart believed. He remembered the way the first monster had stepped back, the way every hybrid in the chamber froze, their claws twitching, their eyes locked on him in something like terror. Fear. They had feared him. Lyra stepped forward, her voice stronger now. They cannot break you, Ryan. That is why they take others. That is why they copy. They hope to steal what they cannot kill. The hybrid's grin widened. And we succeed. I am proof. I carry your strength, your memories, your blood. You cannot kill me, Ryan, because I am you. Ryan's chest heaved. His voice came out rough, almost a growl. You're not me. You're a monster. The hybrid leaned closer, its face inches from his. Its breath was hot, foul, sickening. And so are you. The words cut deeper than any claw. For a moment, Ryan's grip on his knife faltered. Lyra's voice snapped him back. Do not listen, she shouted. It wants to break you. That is how it wins. The hybrid's head turned toward her, its glowing eyes narrowing. And you, little one, do you think you are free? You are a tool, a seed. Your kind was meant to serve, to obey. Yet you stand beside him, as if that will save you. Lyra lifted her chin, her glowing tattoos blazing brighter. I would rather die beside him than live as you. The hybrid hissed, its body trembling with rage. The chamber shook again. Pods along the far wall cracked, steam hissing. Shapes stirred inside, pressing against the glass. Ryan's knife felt heavy in his hand, but his eyes locked onto the hybrid's. For the first time, he felt something burning inside him. Not fear, not despair. Defiance. He stepped forward, pressing the tip of his blade against the hybrid's chest. His voice was steady now. You're wrong. You're not me. You'll never be me. Because I fight for something. You fight for nothing. The hybrid's smile faltered. For the first time, its red eyes flickered. And then it roared. The chamber exploded with sound. Pods shattered across the walls, spilling twisted hybrids onto the floor. They crawled forward, their claws scraping metal. The ground trembled as more and more poured out, surrounding the chamber. Lyra screamed, pulling Ryan's arm. We have to move. But Ryan didn't move. Not yet. He kept the blade pressed against the hybrid's chest, his eyes locked on it. You're afraid, Ryan whispered. That's why you keep talking. That's why you haven't killed me. Because you know, deep down, you'll never win. The hybrid's claws shook, its face twisted in rage. But it didn't strike. Not yet. Ryan finally stepped back, grabbing Lyra's hand. Together they sprinted toward the far passage as the hybrids swarmed behind them. The chamber erupted into chaos, screams, roars, claws tearing through metal. The air filled with the stench of blood and smoke. As they ran, Ryan heard the hybrid's voice echoing after him. This is not over, Ryan. You cannot escape yourself. You cannot escape me. The tunnel swallowed them, the sound of pursuit echoing. Closer and closer, they ran until Ryan's legs felt like fire, until the air tasted of rust and ash. The tunnel opened into another vast chamber, but this one was different. The walls were covered in strange carvings, glowing faintly. Symbols. Stories. Lyra froze, her eyes wide. The old war, she whispered. Ryan staggered forward, his chest heaving, sweat dripping into his eyes. He lifted his hand, brushing it against the carvings. They told a story: humans standing against monsters, fire raining from the skies. Creatures kneeling before men and women with weapons in their hands thought it was real. It happened. Ryan's mind spun, his throat tight. God, we did fight them. Lyra nodded slowly. And you won. That is why they fear you. The chamber shook again, distant roars echoing. The hybrid was still coming. The monsters were still hunting. Ryan turned to Lyra, his eyes burning with new fire. Then maybe it's time they remembered why. The battle. The carved chamber trembled. Dust rained from the ceiling as distant roars echoed through the tunnels. Ryan stood beneath the glowing symbols, his knife gripped tight, his chest rising and falling like a war drum. Lyra stood beside him, her glowing tattoos pulsing with fear and determination. The monsters were coming. He could feel the vibrations in the floor. He could smell the sour, burning stench of their bodies. And behind them, the hybrid's voice crawled through the stone like poison. You can't run, Ryan. This ship belongs to us. Soon, you will too. Ryan's jaw tightened. He turned to Lyra. No more running. She stared at him, eyes wide. There are too many. You cannot fight them all. Ryan looked back at the carvings on the wall, images of ancient humans standing against the monsters, fire in their hands, unbroken even in death. He felt something stir deep inside him. Something older than fear. Something older than the war itself. He whispered, more to himself than to her. They thought we forgot. But I'll remind them. The tunnel behind them split open with a thunderous crack. The first monster crawled in, its claws tearing grooves in the floor. Another followed, its glowing eyes blazing with hunger. Then another. Then dozens more. They poured into the chamber like a flood of shadows. Ryan stepped forward. His knife glinted in the pale light. His eyes locked on the monsters. Lyra gasped. Ryan! But he didn't move back. He moved forward. The first monster lunged. Ryan ducked under its swing, his knife slashing across its throat. Black liquid sprayed, burning the floor. The creature roared and collapsed, thrashing violently before going still. The others hesitated. Just for a moment, Ryan lifted his knife, pointing it at them like a challenge. Come on, he growled. They came. The chamber erupted into chaos. Claws tore through stone. Teeth snapped inches from Ryan's face. He moved like fire, every strike of his blade fueled by desperation and rage. He wasn't faster than them. He wasn't stronger. But he was human. And humans never stopped. He stabbed one creature through the chest, kicking it back into another. He rolled aside as claws scraped the ground where he had stood. He grabbed a fallen shard of metal, using it as a second blade. His arms ached, his lungs burned, but he didn't fall. Lyra darted between the chaos, her glowing tattoos blazing brighter. She touched the carvings on the wall, whispering words in her alien tongue. The symbols flared, light spilling into the chamber. Some of the monsters recoiled, their eyes burning at the glow. Ryan fought like a storm. He bled, but he didn't break. His mind replayed the hybrid's words, you are defiance, and he embraced them. Every slash, every strike was proof. Proof that he would not bow. The monsters began to falter. Their movements slowed. Their roars grew uncertain. For the first time, Ryan saw it in their eyes again, fear. Then the hybrid entered. The chamber froze. The lesser monsters stepped back, making space. Their glowing eyes lowered, their claws twitching. The hybrid strode forward slowly, its twisted body towering over Ryan. Its voice echoed with venom. You fight well, Ryan, just like they did before. But you will fall, just like they did. Ryan wiped blood from his face, raising his blades. His voice was steady. Then come prove it. The hybrid roared, lunging at him with terrifying speed. Claws slashed. Ryan blocked with the metal shard, sparks flying. The impact sent him crashing into the wall. His ribs screamed with pain, but he forced himself up. The hybrid struck again. Ryan rolled aside, his knife cutting across its leg. Black liquid hissed as it burned the stone. The hybrid snarled, its red eyes blazing. "You cannot kill me." It hissed. "I am you." Ryan spat blood. "Then this is suicide." He charged. The battle was brutal. Ryan fought with everything he had, his blades flashing, his body breaking. The hybrid's claws tore through his armor, leaving deep wounds across his chest and arms. Blood dripped down his side, but he refused to stop. They clashed again and again, metal and bone screaming in the dark chamber. The hybrid was faster, stronger, relentless. Every strike threatened to end him. But Ryan's eyes never wavered. He moved not with skill, but with stubborn, impossible will. At one point, the hybrid slammed him into the floor, its claw pressing against his throat. Its voice was a growl. "Why do you fight? You cannot win." Ryan's hand trembled, blood dripping from his mouth, but he smiled. A broken, defiant smile. "Because I'd rather die human than live as you." He slammed his knife upward, burying it into the hybrid's neck. The creature screamed, staggering back. Black liquid sprayed across the chamber. The monsters around them roared, but none moved forward. They only watched. Ryan struggled to his feet, his body shaking. His vision blurred, but he kept his knife raised. His voice was a whisper, but it carried through the chamber. "This is why you fear us." Lyra's voice rose suddenly, chanting louder. The carvings on the wall blazed with light, flooding the chamber. The monsters screeched, their glowing eyes dimming. Some fell to the ground, writhing in pain. The hybrid roared, shielding its face with its claws. "Stop her!" it screamed. Ryan staggered toward Lyra, standing between her and the hybrid. "You want her, you go through me." The hybrid lowered, its claws, its red eyes blazing with fury. "Then I will." It charged. Ryan braced himself, but he had nothing left. His arms shook, his wounds burned, his breath was shallow. He raised his knife one last time. The hybrid struck. Their blades met claw and steel. Sparks flew. For a moment, time froze. Then Ryan's eyes locked onto the hybrid's. He didn't see a monster. He didn't see himself. He saw fear, and he pushed with a roar that shook the chamber. Ryan drove his knife deeper, tearing through the hybrid's chest. Black liquid burst forth, spilling across the floor. The hybrid screamed, its body convulsing. Ryan pressed closer, his voice a growl through blood and pain. "You'll never be me." The hybrid's red eyes flickered, its smile faltered. And then, slowly, its body collapsed. The monsters around them screamed, their roars echoing through the chamber. But they didn't attack. They stepped back. They trembled. They feared him. Ryan fell to one knee, his knife clattering to the ground. His chest heaved, his vision darkened. He felt Lyra's arms wrap around him, her voice shaking. "You did it. You killed it." Ryan coughed, blood on his lips. "Not all of them." The chamber shook again, louder than before. The ground cracked, the walls trembled. More roars filled the tunnels, deeper, louder, endless. Lyra's eyes widened. "They are waking the rest." Ryan forced himself to his feet, his body screaming. In pain, he picked up his knife, his hand trembling. He looked at Lyra, his voice hoarse but steady. "Then we finish this. One way or another." Far away, deeper in the ship, something massive stirred. A roar unlike any they had heard before shook the entire wreck. The ground split, dust pouring from the ceiling. Ryan's eyes locked on the dark tunnel ahead. His chest rose and fell. His body was broken, but his spirit burned brighter than ever. Lyra whispered, fear and awe in her voice. "What are you?" Ryan tightened his grip on the knife. His voice was quiet, but unshakable, human. And then, as the roar of the monsters thundered closer. He stepped forward to meet them. Humanity's edge. The roar shook the world. It wasn't like the others. This sound carried weight, a storm of rage and hunger. The entire ship trembled. Cracks split the floor, sparks burst from shattered wires, and the walls groaned like they would collapse. Ryan stood in the chamber, blood dripping from his wounds, knife trembling in his grip. Lyra clutched his arm, her glowing tattoos pulsing. Like a frantic heartbeat, the monsters at the edges of the room stepped back, their glowing eyes darting nervously toward the tunnel. Even they feared what was coming. Ryan wiped blood from his mouth. His body was broken, but his eyes burned with fire. "What the hell is that?" Lyra's voice trembled. "The first one. The one they built from all wars, all victories, all defeats, the true weapon. It was never meant to wake until the world was ready to fall." The roar came again, closer now. Dust rained from the ceiling. Ryan gritted his teeth. "Well, looks like it's awake early." The tunnel split open like a wound. Darkness poured out first. Then the shape. It was enormous, its body stretching, until it nearly touched the ceiling. Its skin was layered with black plates of living armor, its veins glowing faint red. Its claws were the size of swords. And its face, half human, half monster, shifted constantly, like hundreds of stolen faces flickering across it. Men, women, alien, human, all screaming silently. Its glowing red eyes locked onto Ryan, and it stepped forward. The chamber shook. With its weight, each step echoed like thunder. The other monsters lowered their heads, trembling in submission. Lyra whispered, her voice filled with despair. "We cannot fight that." Ryan's chest rose and fell. He didn't look away. "We don't have a choice." The first one roared, and the sound tore through Ryan's chest like fire. He dropped to one knee, clutching his ears. His vision blurred, his bones shook. Lyra fell beside him, screaming, but Ryan forced himself up. His knife was small, pitiful, compared to the monster before him. But it was still his. He raised it. "Come on," he growled through clenched teeth. The monster struck first. Its massive claw swung down, shattering the floor. Ryan dove aside, rolling across broken stone. The impact left a crater where he had stood. Ryan charged, slashing at its leg. His knife cut deep, black liquid spraying like acid. The monster roared, but it didn't falter. It swung again, faster than something that size should move. The claws slammed into Ryan's chest, hurling him across the chamber. He crashed into the wall, the air torn from his lungs. Pain exploded across his ribs. He collapsed, coughing blood. The monster's shadow fell over him. Lyra screamed, darting forward. Her glowing tattoos blazed brighter than ever, her body radiating light. She pressed her palms against the carvings on the wall, chanting words in her ancient tongue. The symbols flared with blinding fire. The chamber itself seemed to awaken, the walls pulsing with energy. The monster froze, its eyes narrowing. It roared. In fury, the sound shaking the light itself. Ryan staggered up, his vision swimming. He looked at Lyra, her small form burning with power as she chanted. She was giving everything she had. He knew she couldn't last long. The first one roared again and lunged toward her. Ryan ran. His legs screamed, his body begged to stop, but he forced himself forward. He leapt, slamming into the monster's arm, driving his knife into the joints between its armor plates. The blade sank deep, black liquid pouring across his hand. Monster shrieked, swinging its arm wildly. Ryan clung to it like a parasite, stabbing again and again. "You don't get her." He roared. The beast smashed him against the wall. Pain exploded across his back, blood flooding his mouth. His vision dimmed, but he didn't let go. He buried the knife deeper, twisting with all his strength. The monster's massive arm buckled. It stumbled, crashing to one knee. Lyra's voice rose louder, her tattoos blazing like fire. The carvings on the walls blazed with light, showing humans standing tall against monsters, their weapons raised high, the chamber filled with fire. The first one roared again, rising to its feet. It tore Ryan from its arm and hurled him across the room. He crashed into the ground, bones cracking, his knife skidding away. He couldn't move. He couldn't breathe. His body screamed in agony. The monster stepped forward, towering over him. Its claws rose for the killing blow. Ryan's eyes flicked to the knife lying just out of reach. His fingers twitched, but his arm wouldn't move. And then he saw the carvings. The ancient humans on the walls, standing against impossible odds. He saw their eyes, their fire, their defiance. Something inside him stirred. Something older than pain. Older than fear. He whispered, "Not yet." With a roar, he pushed his body forward, every muscle screaming. His hand closed around the knife just as the claw came down. He rolled, slashing upward, driving the blade into the monster's wrist. The claw missed his head by inches, burying into the floor. Ryan dragged himself to his feet, knife dripping black liquid. His body was broken, but his eyes burned with fire. The monster roared in fury, swinging again. Ryan ducked, slashing across its chest. The blade cut deep, sparks and blood flying. And for the first time, the monster stepped back. Ryan's chest heaved. His voice was hoarse, broken, but steady. "You feel that?" He growled. "That's fear. That's what makes me human. That's what you'll never take." The monster's red eyes flickered. Its claws twitched. It roared again, but this time it wasn't hunger. It was anger. Ryan charged. He stabbed again and again, every strike fueled by rage, by pain, by defiance. He climbed its massive body, driving his blade into its neck, its chest, its head. Black liquid poured across him, burning his skin, but he didn't stop. Lyra screamed his name, her voice breaking. The chamber blazed brighter and brighter as her chant reached its peak. The carvings burned with light, the walls cracking under the energy. Ryan drove the knife deep into the monster's skull. He roared with it, his voice echoing across the chamber. "This is why you'll never win." The monster convulsed, its red eyes flickering. It staggered, crashing to its knees. Ryan pulled the knife free, his entire body drenched in blood and black liquid. He looked into its fading eyes, and he whispered, "Humanity doesn't bow." With one final thrust, he buried the knife deep into its skull. The monster screamed, a sound of rage and fear and pain. Then it collapsed, the floor shaking under its massive weight. The chamber went silent. Ryan collapsed beside it, his knife slipping from his hand. He couldn't breathe. He couldn't move. But he was alive. Lyra stumbled to him, falling to her knees, her glowing tattoos dimmed, her voice breaking. You killed it." Ryan coughed blood, a weak smile on his lips. "Told you, we don't stop." The walls around them cracked, the ship groaning. The light from the carvings spread, tearing through the stone. The entire wreck began to collapse. Lyra's eyes widened. "The ship is dying. We must go." Ryan forced himself up, every bone screaming. He grabbed her hand. "Then let's finish." They ran through collapsing tunnels, fire and smoke chasing them. Monsters screamed behind them, crushed under falling stone. The ship was tearing itself apart. At last, they burst into the open air. The night sky stretched above them, stars blazing. Behind them, the alien wreck shuddered one final time, then collapsed into itself, vanishing in a storm of fire and dust. Ryan fell to his knees, gasping for air. His body was broken, his vision blurred. But he was alive. Lyra stood beside him, her eyes wide, her silver skin glowing faintly in the starlight. She whispered, "Now I see. Humanity is the monster they cannot conquer." Ryan looked up at the sky, his bloodied hand tightening around his knife. His voice was weak but steady. "This fight is just beginning."